It's finally revealed why Zach was arrested. Karen is still on her healing journey, and Fatima is still offering up grace and maturity. What's good, y'all? She gets this Erica Vane coming to you right here on Erica Vane TV with another Sistas video. As Erica Vane TV is your #1 source for Sistas content on this good here Rihanna's internet, honey. Okay, we have some of the best conversations. We discuss all of our thoughts, theories, predictions. I'm giving you daily videos breaking down everything that you need to know about the show. So if you really want to join the tribe, just hit that subscribe button and turn on your bell notifications so that you don't miss out. I actually go live after every single new episode on Wednesday nights, so please be sure to hit the subscribe button so that you'll be notified when I'm live as well, so that you can join the conversation. I absolutely adore having live conversations with y'all, and last night was no different. We actually got really intimate and really deep, and I was able to address quite a few things, as this episode was interesting to say the least. Many of y'all were rating the episode a 4 and a 5, and of course we are going to get into it in this video. So without further ado, let's talk about episode 10 from season 4, Our Favorite Places. The episode opens with Zach in the interrogation room. Bill Watts has been brought in by Jake to help him sort out what's going on, and we finally immediately get to see what the hell is in this envelope and why Zach is actually being detained. And unfortunately, it is because of past due child support. Apparently there's a woman by the name of Heather Jenkins who says that she has a 3-year-old fathered by Zach, and he owes her child support for the last 3 years. But if I do recall, Zach was released from prison 3 years ago. He's been in a relationship with Karen for 3 years since he got out of prison. So when would he have fathered this child? There's so many questions that this brings to mind. And honestly, let's go ahead and assess it, because we did break it down on my live last night, and I've come to the conclusion that these charges are fake. I think that this is something that Gary and Hayden is putting on and putting these guys up to, and unbeknownst to Jake, Bill Watts is in on it. Just like Gary was able to hire police officers to follow and track Andi, pull her over, attempt to make it a racial car stop, and then turn it into some kind of silly joke to allude to the fact that he really missed her and he wants her back. I think that Hayden has recruited Gary to try to torment Zach in his attempt to break them up, but then also to continue to cause problems and wreak havoc in Zach's life, as we have seen him do since he has entered the series. Hayden, for whatever reason, can't seem to take no for an answer, and with the resources and support of Gary, which we have seen a few episodes back, we know that he now has additional resources, and this could 100% be a farce. Now, when I say that I don't think that this arrest is real, we have yet to see Zach read his rights. We have yet to see Zach be told what he's actually being accused of. We have yet to see Zach be given his one phone call. When he's in the cell alone. And part of me believes that all of this is because this is actually not real, and Gary has friends in the police department that were able to help make this all feel real by bringing him down to an actual police station and putting him in an actual cell, and then bringing him into an actual interrogation room where he's able to put into Jake's ear, hey, I have a lawyer, Bill Watts, that you can also help to get Zach off. And Bill Watts immediately says, okay, you need to pay $36,700, or basically $37,000 in this back child support, or you won't be released from prison. You need to do it immediately. One, Bill Watts, why would you assume that Zach even has this money? Because Gary told you, because Hayden told him, or because Gary know that he hit big on the stock. And then two, how, in what world does someone have to fork over tens of thousands of dollars to make up for child support when paternity has not even been confirmed for this person? I'll wait. I don't know which judge in America will sign off on detaining someone who has never been served a paper, never been given a letter, never has had a paternity test, never has confirmed paternity with this person. There's literally no paper trail, and then magically all of a sudden there's a case in this folder and he has enough to be able to be held without release, without bail, without bond. Something truly in the water ain't clean, and I 100% think that this is a scheme that has been conjured up by Gary and Hayden. Now, I also might be a little delusional, y'all, and that I'm hoping that Zach does not have an illegitimate child, as we're still dealing with the case of if Karen is pregnant by Zach, and will this be another child outside of his relationship with Fatima. This new child presenting itself would be two which makes things double complicated, double conflicted, double concerning. Many of y'all have posted in the comment section of the chat when we were live, as well as I've seen on social media, that part of the storyline for Fatima is that Fatima's going to have an issue with the stripper, and Heather is probably the stripper and the mother of this child. So this could actually be Zach's baby. The synopsis of the season finale for Fatima says that Fatima must make a choice after learning of certain things that arise, and Zach, or the person who plays Zach, Devale Ellis, has gone on record in interviews and discussed how baby mama drama is going to be a part of his story throughout the rest of Sistas and into the first season of Fatima. So it could be that this baby is a whole thing, but until we get more information, I am not going to go ahead and confirm it, and I'm going to live in my delusion bubble and say that this is fake, and I'm using it as another reason to blame Gary and Hayden for something. Yes, I am. I'm being very honest about that. For the most part, that is all we get from Zach in this episode, and it's at the top of the episode. Jake decides to loan Zach the money when Zach says that he's not going to be able to get access to this money. The only money that he has is in his safe back at Fatima's house, and he's not going to give Jake the combination to be able to go and get that. So Jake says, you know what, I'll loan the money to you, I'll go ahead and do it, get you out of here, and then we'll deal with the rest later. And honestly, y'all, that was the confirmation for me that Jake isn't necessarily in on it, and Jake isn't trying to just rob Zach, because he's literally putting his money up first. It did feel like he was being a little shady and asking Zach to give him the combination to the safe after they have literally just met a few days ago, and Zach doesn't know him like that. But in him turning around saying that he's going to put his own money out there and help him at least get out of jail so that they can come up with a game plan with while he's free, that tells me that Jake is actually buying in and is invested in Zach, and actually isn't aware of any shade and dealings that might be happening around him or anybody trying to compromise him and his freedom. Now, also in this episode, we get to see Dani and Andi finally meet up, as Andi had arranged in the last episode to talk, and Dani knows exactly what she wants. She knows that Andi wants permission to do what she's going to already do anyway. She knows that Andi is looking for a different perspective than Karen's, because typically all she's asking for is Karen's opinion, and she already knows Karen's opinion. Andi is literally looking for permission to go back down this toxic path with Gary, and at the end of the day, all she needs is the permission from herself to continue to traumatize herself with this relationship. And I love that Dani is so very candid and honest with her about that fact. She tells her that she knows that she's going to do whatever she wants to do. She doesn't think that she should revisit this relationship, but she's going to do it anyway, because Andi is yet to come to a place where she's actually done with the relationship and tired of how he has treated her. It won't be until she's completely tired of the situation that they're in and the toxicity of their relationship that she will really be able to move on and never go back. And I made the same statement when I broke down my video about if Andi was about to walk back in and take Gary back, because I definitely thought that she would. Y'all should definitely check out that video after you finish watching this one, because it's a deep dive into Andi's perspective, and truly I understand where she is as a character and as a woman. She's not strong enough yet, and she has not been hurt enough yet to really feel what she needs to feel to get up and walk away from Gary's table. Now, while Dani is on a roll with giving out great advice to Andi, she doesn't necessarily follow her own advice as she confronts Preston, who happens to be dining with a young woman named Kelly at the restaurant that she's at with Andi. And it's just another run-in. Honestly, this time I don't think that Preston actually knew that she was going to be there, and this wasn't actually orchestrated. It just is happenstance. It just seems overly coincidental, and I completely understand that, but I don't think that he actually meant to do this. I said this on my live last night, but I want to go ahead and reiterate it here. While we could be speaking about, does Preston have an Ebony fetish, or is he fetishizing black girls? Honestly, what I think that we're starting to see play out with Preston is he's actually trying to get a little bit of on-the-job training. If you go back to a few episodes ago when Preston and Dani were having their real heart-to-heart conversation, and he asked her to just slow down with him, take her time, and walk him through what he needed to know, what he needed to do, and how he could be better. And she said that she cannot teach him, nor does she want to teach him how to show up for her and how to love her. Because she's not able to do so, he has to figure it out somehow, and the only way he can do that is getting more experience with other black women. So while it can look a little bit shifty, that's the perspective I'm choosing to take in watching Preston's character play out as we move forward. And if you haven't checked this video out already, I did a video on how Preston can actually win Dani back, and one of the things that I mentioned in this, I gave a whole list of all of the things that he could do to actually get back in her good graces. but one of those things was for him to get out and figure out how to navigate spaces with Black women, how to show up for Black women, how to fully see Black women. And if Danny's not going to give him the insights into her life, then he needs to get around and exposed to other Black women so that he can do so. Now, one of my favorite parts of this episode was the conversation between Karen and Fatima outside of the duplex. Karen actually goes over to the duplex to see Zach after learning from Pam that the woman that has been stopping by the salon is in fact a police officer. And one, she wants to warn him, but two, she wants to get to the bottom of what's actually going on and to see if he actually has any issues or troubles or is something about to go down. When Fatima arrives at the duplex, Karen is just waiting outside staring at the duplex, and I just thought that this was such a powerful scene with Ebony Obsidian giving all of the raw realness of a Black woman who is struggling with the release of this past relationship, one that she knows isn't great for her, one that she knows that she has outgrown and that has outgrown her, but seeing the person that she was in love with or is currently still in love with and having to let it go while they walk into the dreams that they potentially talked about achieving together and they're not doing so. I just thought it was completely beautiful for us to actually see this raw and vulnerable moment of Karen having to sit with the idea that Zach is better off without her and seeing it with the visual representation of the car and the duplex and Fatima pulling up and his whole life moving on without her. And I'm very excited that it wasn't as it seemed in the trailer with Karen asking Fatima why her and why was he able to get it together in a few weeks with her versus 3 years with Karen. It literally is framed so much better in the episode where she's really just kind of speaking a stream of consciousness and being very honest and vulnerable with Fatima, which Fatima meets with grace and appreciation. She literally tells her, "Thank you for being so honest with me." They kind of go back and forth, and Fatima asks her, "So let me guess, do you want him back?" And Karen says no. And I believe that. I really believe that we're literally watching Karen's hurt, grieving, and then healing process as she moves through this period of her life of loss. And a lot of people don't realize this, but when you lose relationships, whether romantic or familial or friends, you still grieve this. It's almost like a death. And that's exactly what we're watching. I thought that this was one of the most powerful scenes that we've seen this season, with these two women being very open and honest, specifically Karen being very open and honest, and Fatima being continually mature and gracious in seeing herself in Karen and allowing her space to express herself very truthfully without actually exerting any of her extra emotions on top of it. And before I finish with Karen, y'all, Aaron goes ahead and sets an appointment for her and is going to take her to the doctor's the next day. He didn't listen to what was told to him early in that day. He's supposed to be waiting on her to call. He's supposed to be waiting on her to reach out, and he's still calling her. He wants to bring her ice cream. He wants to do this. He wants to do that. I know that he's nervous. This is potentially his very first child, and he does love Karen very deeply, so we get it. But also, sir, relax, calm it down just a bit. But at the end of the day, Karen decides that she is going to allow him to set up this appointment and for him to take her to the actual appointment. So they're going to meet up at the salon, and I'm hoping that with the mid-season finale, we're going to get the start of that conversation that she's going to the doctors and Aaron's going to take her, and maybe we are going to get a timeline for this pregnancy and how far along she is. Sabrina is kind of starting a new storyline in this episode as she goes out on a date with Bio after Danny comes over to complain about Preston, but then ultimately cancels Sabrina's date with Calvin and arranges a date with her with Bio. Sabrina, of course, subject to her friends' opinions and pushing, decides to go on it, and it starts off very beautifully. She comes dressed all sparkly. Bio is all moisturized, and they're at his actual restaurant starting to enjoy themselves when Calvin walks in, and that's how the episode ends. Chill, a mess. Now, I saved this for the end because I'm really not interested in this part of the storyline, but we get a ton of Maurice, Calvin, and Q in this episode, way more than I think that we needed. But ultimately, it's a setup for next episode. Maurice is actually going to let Q back in. This episode, he threw him out of the house. Why is nobody really complaining about the fact that Q keeps breaking into Maurice's house? This episode, Maurice is able to stay strong, but next episode, because Q is actually sleeping out on the front porch or the street or whatever, Maurice seems to feel bad, and by way of the trailer we can see that he brings him back in and they might wind up sleeping together, and I hate that for Maurice. Andi also has a call with Robin in this episode, y'all, and Robin kind of reads her like a court document. He knows and he can feel or he can sense that she is back on the fence, and he actually mentions, "Oh, what did your boyfriend or your ex-boyfriend do? Did he buy you flowers?" Nah, he had to buy you much more than that. Andi denies it, but she needs to, because if she was going to admit it and step up to it and be accountable to it, then that would also require her to address it and to do some type of change. But she ain't gonna do that. That is the end of my episode 10 breakdown. Let me know what your thoughts on the episode were in the comment section down below. Give this video a like so that more people can find this content and we can keep growing this conversation on Erica Vane TV. I'll see y'all in my next one.